You are 34 years old, sitting in the dark glow of your kitchen light at 12:43 a.m., staring at 3 tabs open on your laptop, your bank account, your debt, and a retirement calculator that keeps telling you the truth. You keep changing the numbers, hoping the future changes with them. It doesn't. You scroll through your transactions from the last 5 years and realize there was never one catastrophic collapse, no dramatic financial ruin, no single reckless decision big enough to blame. That would almost feel easier. Instead, your money disappeared the way water disappears through tiny cracks in a pipe. Food deliveries, because you were tired. Subscriptions, because canceling felt annoying. Trips you convinced yourself you deserved, because work was stressful. Clothes bought for versions of yourself you were trying to become. A relationship that ended with shared furniture, split deposits, and silence. Convenience, comfort, delay. You thought adulthood would eventually arrive with clarity. Instead, it arrived with invoices. At 24, you believed time was infinite. At 34, you realized time was never infinite. It was simply quiet enough back then that you couldn't hear it leaving. Now you can. You hear it every time someone your age talks about index funds they started buying at 22. Every time a coworker mentions their house appreciating in value. Every time you see someone younger than you explaining compound interest online with the calm confidence of a person who got there early. You know the math now. The math hurts. You know that money invested at 22 behaves differently than money invested at 34. You know what 10 missing years of compounding costs. You know the gap has a number attached to it. And the worst part is this. Nobody forced you to wait. You waited because life felt immediate. Because survival felt more urgent than planning. Because your future self was too abstract to sacrifice for. Because nobody around you seemed financially stable either, so drifting felt normal. Now you're old enough to understand that normal and healthy are not the same thing. This is the night it finally becomes real. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just real. You open a spreadsheet, and for the first time in your adult life, you stop estimating. You write down everything. The credit card balance, the savings account with barely enough in it, the old retirement account from a previous employer you haven't looked at in years, the monthly subscriptions, the take-home pay, the rent, the interest, the truth. You expect shame. What arrives instead is clarity. Clarity is uncomfortable because it removes your ability to pretend. But clarity is also the first useful thing you've felt about money in years. So, you make decisions. Not giant, life-changing cinematic decisions. Small adult decisions. The kind repeated long enough that they eventually become a life. You cancel what you don't use. You stop financing your boredom. You move the old retirement account into one place you can actually see. You automate an investment transfer even though the amount feels embarrassingly small. You build an emergency fund with the understanding that emergencies are not rare events. They are guarantees. The first few months feel invisible. You expect momentum to feel exciting. It doesn't. Momentum feels repetitive. You say no more often. You cook at home more often. You stop upgrading your life every time your income increases. You begin separating wants from reflexes. The world doesn't applaud. Nobody notices. But slowly, your numbers begin changing. Debt shrinks, savings grows. Your anxiety lowers by fractions so small, you only notice after enough months have passed. As one day, your car needs repairs. And for the first time in your life, the repair does not become a crisis. That moment matters more than luxury ever did. Because stability is underrated by people who have never lived without it. At 36, you look at your accounts and realize something strange. You are no longer drowning. You are not rich. You are not financially free. But your life has structure now. A floor, a system, a direction. You begin understanding something personal finance videos rarely explain correctly. Wealth is not built in giant moments. It is built in repeated behaviors that become identity. You are no longer trying to act disciplined. You are becoming disciplined. That changes everything. Your income grows because you finally negotiate. You stop apologizing for wanting more money. You realize employers were never going to volunteer extra income out of kindness. You develop skills with leverage. You become intentional. At 39, the machine is fully running. Retirement contributions happen automatically. Investments continue during market crashes. You no longer panic every time the economy shakes. You've experienced enough life to understand that fear is constant and temporary. The market drops hard one year. You watch your portfolio lose an amount of money that would have emotionally destroyed the younger version of you. And still, you continue contributing, because now you understand the difference between volatility and failure. That understanding is expensive. Most people only gain it through experience. At 42, someone younger asks you when they should start investing. You almost laugh, because you remember being their age. You remember believing there would always be more time. You remember thinking financial stability was something people accidentally arrived at. You tell them to start now, not because early investing is magical, because delay is expensive. You explain compound interest. You explain consistency. You explain how small amounts become large amounts if given enough years. You watch their eyes glaze slightly. That's okay. Some lessons are impossible to fully understand until time makes them real. But you tell them anyway, because nobody explained it to you with enough urgency. Now, you are older. Not old, older. And you finally understand this. Your financial life did not improve when you learned more. It improved when you accepted reality quickly enough to act on it repeatedly. That was the difference. Not intelligence, not luck, not perfect timing, action, repeated long enough to become momentum. You still think sometimes about what would have happened if you started at 22. That thought never disappears completely, but it stops controlling you. Because eventually you understand something more useful than regret. The person who starts late and commits fully can still build a life that feels stable, calm, and free. Not perfect, not billionaire rich, but free in the ways that matter. Free from panic, free from paycheck to paycheck fear, free from pretending not to care. You used to think wealth meant luxury. Now you understand wealth is mostly reduced fear. And reduced fear changes how you sleep, how you work, how you choose relationships, how you walk through the world. The machine still opens every morning. That part never changes. It does not care that you started late. It does not care how embarrassed you are. It does not care how much time you lost. It only responds to consistency. And for the first time in your adult life, you finally became consistent. Tomorrow morning, your alarm will ring. You will go to work. You will drink your coffee. You will live an ordinary day. And somewhere in the background, quietly, without applause, your future will continue building itself because you finally decided to show up for it.